Welcome to Into the Room. My name is Sandra Nicholson, and I am the host of Into the Room podcast. And I'm so excited today. I have two wonderful people joining me today. They are a part of the Communities Writers Group of Los Angeles, a group that I'm very fond of. I've known some of these ladies for, I think, since 2019. I too got to know them because I'm a writer. And it's a fabulous group. It's a group of men and women. At this moment, we tend to have a little bit more women than men. We welcome all men to join the group. But the Communities Writers Group of Los Angeles focus on personal narratives that are coming from a wide range in terms of experiences, demographics, you name it. It's a very creative, brilliant group of people who have something to contribute and share what they learned and experienced growing up in America, as well as in some cases abroad, of the African diaspora experience. We, particularly as African Americans, have a very specific, unique, because from us coming from our history of not knowing our traditional language or even names, just everything. We come from a very far place and covered a lot of ground. And with what we had, we made it, I can say, a brilliant work of art. And we're unique. The African diaspora in itself is unique in itself, but I think we're very unique considering all what we've gone through and what we've had to do with what came our way. But with that being said, I'm excited to introduce you to two of the writers from the Communities Writers Group, and that is Miss Akosua Hobert, who I've come to learn, appreciate, love her artistry. Akosua is a native New Yorker, born and raised. However, she graduated from Cal State University with a Bachelor's of Arts as well as a Master of Arts degree, and eventually started working for Los Angeles Unified District, retired in 2008. But Akosua is also a world traveler. She's traveled the continent of Africa numerous times, and while being in Africa, she taught second grade for the International School of Tanganyika. Did I pronounce that right, Akosua?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You pronounced.
Wonderful. So she was a teacher over in Africa, and then she went on to establish three businesses. Nutrition or NourishLab. NourishLab, that's the name of it. NourishLab. Her own smoothie shop. You know how we love smoothies, especially here in California. We're all about the natural and the organic, right? She established that there in Accra, Ghana, but that's not only Akosua's background. Akosua is also a volunteer for the African American Firefighters Museum, as well as she's part of the San Pedro Council. Correct me, help me with that, Akosua.
Neighborhood Council, yes.
Yes,
yes,
yes. She's just a dynamic woman, and then to add all that, she became part of the Communities Writers Group, and so just a fabulous individual, very down to earth, cool. I ran into at a party with Akosua, so she's just fun to hang out with. But not only do we have Akosua, we have the Miss Brenda English. Brenda is actually graduated from Cal State Northridge, and she majored in sociology and went on to be a part of demographics. She studied demographics, but then programming. Can you explain to me what that is?
it's just Venn diagrams. It's just information that I studied in sociology. I mean, I was thinking that community writers group was a little bit more than Venn diagrams, which is complicated mathematical combination, really. And I got into writing just to get away from all of that, you know. So it's very interesting, and it's more mathological than anything else. And CSUN, the ability to study demographics and Venn diagrams, which is
Oh,
little
that's cool.
circles that you incorporate all of A is not B and all of D is not A, and you know, you incorporate the
Awesome.
information from Venn diagrams. So I
Awesome.
did. I started working for the corporate environment and eventually started writing.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love being around smart people. But not only just smart, but talented people and embracing people. So, you know, as I've read, now I'm gonna start off with Akosua. One of Akosia's works that I read that was in volume 5, and it just stuck with me. And it was a love story that she wrote about her her deceased husband, EJ the DJ. And I kid you not, when you read that story, I, I remember the first time I heard it, and it was within a group of us. I think we were in tears. It was such a powerful, moving, beautiful love story, and the way it unfolded, and how she, you know, it for those who may have never been married, or have been married once before, and to find love again, because what I loved about it happened at a later stage in her life. And sometimes we go into relationships with preconceived notions of what we think, what we want. But EJ, the DJ, showed Miss Akosua Hobert something totally unexpected, and he became the love of her life. And Akosua, when you was writing that story, what were the things that triggered you to put? Because you know, when you're writing, there's certain things that you know, and it's particularly a short story. What made you decide to go with telling it from the point of view that you did share with your audience?
What I wanted people to realize is never too late to find love.
Yeah.
So here I am in the 60s, and the first time I've been married, and here I am in love with a man that's 10 years younger. Oh my goodness. You talk about excitement. It was like I was reborn.
Yeah.
Got rid of that old lady in me, and I was just doing so amazing things, like riding a motorcycle. I have never had that experience. So he brought out the youthfulness in me,
Right.
you know? So caring, so loving. Yeah.
Right. I think what an element of the story that I loved about it is when you all would go dancing, because that was one of your things, right? You like to go dancing, and he was willing to go with you, and you all would do the two-step. Like, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I do want to elaborate on that because I was not a dancer, and he
Oh,
taught
you
me
was
on
not a
Friday
dancer.
nights. On Friday nights, I put on my dancing shoes and we would practice. So being a DJ, he went to all these events and he wanted me to accompany him. So I needed to
Yeah,
learn
that's
to dance. Oh yeah. So ballroom dancing, oh, I got good at it. Thanks to the DJ.
right. 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 And I think the other thing about that story is that it just shows the loyalty and the dedication, because at some point, you and he both face a challenge. If you want to elaborate on that.
I do, because I had cancer, not once but twice. And to have someone so loving at your side, you know, so he made sure I made all the appointments, he made sure I ate right, he was there. It's just unexpected because I'm thinking I do everything right, so how could I come down with cancer? You know, it just wasn't becoming. I was just exercising, eating properly, and then all of a sudden I had cancer. It was like,
Right.
no. But with
Mm-hmm.
him at my side, we overcame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think what I also loved about, because he was about the community, which is something that you very much so are about it, and he was very much, about the community. That was another reason why I think why you two drew to each other, because I remember about you saying you would come over and move the garbage can or move the garbage can. Uh, I mean, who does it? You all weren't even dating.
We had Hurricane Katrina Support Council, and I went to the church and I decided to join that group, and he was leading that group.
Right.
And start meeting not at the church but at my house, and we did this fundraising where we did food, selling dinners, we did clothing, we did yard sales, and everything we did to try to raise money for Katrina. So my trash cans would be too heavy for me to put out, and faithfully he came over to take care of that. And he kept saying, I'm a keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a story. That's a story I would like to see somebody produce and get it on the network. Get it. I don't know. Not even Lifetime. I think it
Maybe.
can be on Lifetime, but that's a love story, and I just think that's one that should be out there on a bigger screen. So, let me ask you this: is that I know one of the stories that you wrote was the best job in Tanzania.
Yes.
Can you expound about that?
Yes, I taught second grade at the International School of Tanganyika. And what I learned from being a teacher here in Los Angeles, the difference between those who have and those who are less fortunate. The conditions where I only had 23 students, where I
Mm,
actually had TA. When they went
mm,
off to physical education, the teacher came to collect them and took them and brought them back, which gave me free time. It was just so
mm.
much offered. This is an international school, so you can imagine these are well-off people. These are, diplomats and all that good stuff. But the experience was good to have. Yeah,
Wow. Do
yeah,
you,
it was fantastic.
do you, you know, it was you said it was a diplomatic school that you were teaching
Well,
at.
these people were, yeah, it was an international school for these are people who are in different countries who come to Tanzania and they are expat. Well, they are actually, yeah, working in that capacity at embassies. Most of them at the
Mhm.
national school. Most of the teachers were from other countries, so it was quite a international setting with the teachers, the staff, and then of course the parents were
Mhm.
professional people. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. And see, I think that's another thing about the Communities Writers Group, because no two people are alike, and everyone has come from a different background. The Communities Writers Group was actually Elise Woodson. He actually established the organization about 10 years? It's going on 10 years ago, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
And she,
10th anniversary.
Elise, yeah, the 10-year anniversary is coming up next year.
Next year.
And Elise was the founder, the organizer, and she was just about us and showing the dynamicness. That's a word I can use. The greatness of who we are, and it started off, I think, as a writers group, and then they decided to let's write books, and since then it has just grown, and the group has grown, and it's always transitioning with new members. They've even set up a scholarship um, scholarship aside to it. But before we get into that, I want to get to Miss Brenda. Brenda, coming from a math world and science, I'm sure, in some aspects, I know you needed, that's totally left brain thinking, as they say. Hi,
Yes.
T, I see you. That's like left brain thinking. You needed some creativity, so you decided you was going to write.
Absolutely. I started
And,
writing a
uh-huh.
long time ago with Nikki Giovanni's poetry and her poem called Ego Tripping, which is a must read for most women because that is an unbelievable poem. Her activism and all of that. And I just fell in love with writing after reading her poetry.
Right. I saw when I was in college, I saw Nikki Giovanni. She came and visit our school,
Oh,
and I'll never forget her up there reading her poems. And one that stood out to me was I was born and raised in the Congo,
yeah,
and he was
that's perfect.
that's right. It's the right, and I love that poem.
Yes, that's a must,
It was just
it's a
yeah.
must read.
I
And
mean,
one of my favorite ones is called Butterflies. And
yeah,
now, do you remember that one? She says,
yeah.
those things which you so laughingly call hands are in fact two brown butterflies fluttering across the pleasure they give my body.
Yeah,
I said, go, Nikki.
yeah, exactly, right. So, so transitioning from that world of studying demographics and math to expressing yourself, I read your story, Grandma Betty Day. Beautiful story. Um, you know, I like, and within our communities, a good grandma is normally the pillar of the family, right? In some aspect. And she has the patience for her grandchildren that she may not have had for her own children at the time.
Yes, she certainly
But
did.
right. And when I read the story, and I like how they paid, after she had passed, how they, the community came together to honor her. What were some of the attributes or the things that stood out about your grandmother that said, I want to write about my grandmother?
Well, because everyone visited grandma. You could sit on the front porch and she wouldn't know anyone that drove by, but she would always wave and always say, there's Mr. Whomever. And she just brought everybody together. She was a church lady and she would always go to church every Sunday. We lived down the street from the church, so we would run home at intermission or whatever and turn off the greens or cooking usually. And her house was the place where you congregated. All the kids would come and they would all visit grandma. And she would always sneak and give me little brown pieces of candy, and she would tie my shoes because I couldn't tie my shoes to save, my life. But she would always sneak and tie them for me because it would upset my mom because I couldn't tie my shoes. And then they of course started Velcro when you didn't have to tie them and all. But she was the person who you always went to for advice, and she was so patient. And she flew on an airplane one time, and she said she felt like she was in the clouds and closer to God because of the clouds and the beautiful formations in the airplane. So she always was that one person you could talk to, and she had the patience of Job, and that really was what I was trying to bring out in the story, that she would be the one who would stand there and would give you advice, and she could cook and she could do all these other things, but she grew up in slavery and she never mentioned anything about it, during that time. She would always just make sure you felt good. So that really was the focus really of me writing that story about grandma, just to honor her. And I had a great time doing it, and thank God for the Community Writers Group who gave me that opening and a vehicle in order to do it. I'm a 2-year member, so I am still learning and hope to keep
Right.
writing. And it's just lethargic. So I
It
do.
is. It is. Being in a writers group, the community's writers group, it's a sisterhood and brotherhood. Let me say that. It's a sisterhood. I remember when we would come together and we would just glean and, comb through stories, and, you present it. And then sometimes, somebody else said, well, why don't you say it this way? And I know me, I'd be like, that's not what you're trying to say. But it challenges you, because I think that's what you need. Iron sharpens iron, and you need to get a different perspective. You may go with it, you may not go with it, but it's good because you get better. And it's really good when you can be able to sit down with a group of people who can expound something that you may have experienced, but add another layer to that you never even considered, or how to present the story in a more even beautiful way, where it's really makes the person want to keep reading. Because you read some stories, you'd be like, okay, but then there's a colorful way how you can say a certain phrase that, oh, she went to the store, okay. But, oh, she gingerly walked into the grasses. You make it more visual. You have to make it visual. Storytelling is, you have to be very visual. And when I'm reading something, even if I'm not there, one reason why you open up a book is you want to go on this journey with the person who's telling the story. And you can hit major points. It doesn't even have to be like 100 pages. It can be within 5 pages or even 3, maybe 1. But still, to tell a story that moves an individual is such a powerful thing. And I don't think you ever get it down in one take, because you're constantly growing as a writer. You're sharpening and honing your skills. With Akosua, I know there was another story, Christmas in Harlem. I like that story. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. My mother had a secret, and that secret gave her the ability to purchase more for Christmas. So she didn't get the tree until Christmas Eve. And the reason for that is because the price of the trees were lower. And in fact, they want to get rid of the trees, almost gave it to you. And that's when she went shopping, because it's near midnight. People are tired of all this merchandise they have. They want to get rid of it. But I had no idea the sacrifices she made to make that Christmas so special. So I helped her for the first time. We set it all up at night when my siblings woke up the next morning. The tree was gorgeous. We had all these dollar gifts. They didn't know. It was just so moving. And she cooked during the night. Oh, my mommy just made it so very, very special. Yeah.
Right. And your mom, because was she, were your parents together then, or was she single when she
No,
was
my
doing
mom
it?
wasn't single. She was not single, but she was a stay-at-home mom. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, when she needed extra money, she would do piecework. And so we have many memories of her coming home with these fake stones that you would put and make jewelry. And we would sit up with her and help her get the volume that she needed to get the money. And so she did special little things to help make Christmas so very special. Plenty of food, plenty of goodies under the tree. It was just so warm and inviting and special.
Right. And during the holiday time, everyone, like now, I don't really celebrate holidays like that anymore. But what I remember is when I did, it was always a time of bringing the family together, ideally, and in some cases, big family gatherings can lead to great feelings, and then sometimes it can, some families come to blows around the holidays. But usually it's always a time of people coming together and discussing and feeling whatever it is that's on their mind at that particular point in time.
You know, let me.
Brenda,
My mom was the only child, and it didn't occur to me
yes,
until I grew up that these were not my uncles and my aunts.
right,
These were her friends. You
right,
see, so we always had a huge gathering because she wanted a large family. She had 10 children. She wanted a
right,
large family, being an only child, and
yeah,
she did create that. Oh, yes, she did.
yes. I can identify with your mom on the sense that, because me being the only child, you build your family. And I have a lot of cousins, but we live in different states. Some we see, some haven't seen. And the family that you're blood related to, and then as you get older, you build your own family. And in my case, I lived out here in Southern California, so I have a huge extended family from not even here, but just even in different states. And, just if you're an outgoing person, a friendly person, and I think a genuine loving person, you will attract, you get what you put out, you get back, basically. But I really believe that. And so it's good to meet people, and like the community writers group, it's another form of family. It's a part of our extended family, and that's the wonderful thing about this group. Brenda, I thought it was so funny reading about Breeze.
Yeah,
And everybody's school wise, there's always a bully, right?
that's true. And you can't run away from that, which I physically tried to do.
Yeah, right. Ophia, right?
Yes, yes. And it's so interesting that I still remember her name to this day because she really was someone who would say to you, if you're standing there, take this, hold this. You were that person who kind of just said, okay, and just took it. But I think kids, yes, of course, are bullied an awful lot, unfortunately. But I thought I was just I didn't think she would accost me in the classroom and say she was going to meet me at 3:30 outside and beat me up. But that was what you said usually when you were angry with someone when you were young. 3:30.
Right, right, right. Well, when I was growing up, it says you just wait till the last day of school. What the last day of school? Everything was a threat. You just wait till the last day of school. Never that day. You wait till the whole school year.
That's frightening. Yes. So, someone must have talked to her because she was so much nicer after that. And it
Right.
was an experience. But it was really interesting writing about it because I hadn't thought
Mhm.
about it in so many years. And writing about her really made me realize that that was kind of just a rich childhood growing up. Every kid goes through something. You have to just know how
Right.
to
That's true.
navigate through it. And I did.
Do you find this is to the both of you, when you like when you find yourself writing or getting ready to write something, is it there in your mind so fresh to where you just start writing like for hours on? Or is it that you find yourself writing like, okay, you have a thought and you write it down, you put it down, then you come back to it? Are you like one of those consistent writers? Like when it's there, you just go all day? Or are you one of those people like me when I write something, I'll have this idea and I can go do, 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 do. And then I'll put it down for a while. And then I may not pick it up for the couple of days or a week, maybe even a month, or I may just keep going. Are you one of those writers that you can keep going the moment you start, or you have to step back and just put it down, come back to it later?
Well, I can keep going. I can write it down. And I've written that story, I think, about at least 10 years ago. And I wrote it, the thought of the bull, the breeze running and the air in your face and while you're moving around or whatever. And then I picked it up and just finished it because I had her really fresh on my mind. But like you say, other people, and then at different times I will just jot something down, a thought, a line, and then I have other writings that I have put away for at least 20 years, and I pick them up again. But that story, I just started writing it over and over again. And like you were saying, the community writers group at different meetings, they'll give me great ideas, like similes and metaphors and things that will enhance the story. So it was a longer story, and I shortened it, but I enjoy just going and finishing the story. I don't know about you.
Yeah, for me, I I start a story and I put it down and I think about it. I remember one night I had a pad at my bed, and this through a dream it came to me, a story, and something I had not thought about before. So I said, let me get up, and I did, and let me make notes. And I think I didn't touch it again. It sat for a minute, and when I picked it up again, then I was ready to make it happen.
Yeah, this is a good question for you, Akosua. By you being an educator, did you find it was that much more easier for you to write, or was it maybe even a little bit more challenging for you to write?
More challenging because I taught math and science.
Oh,
My English and my writing skills were not very good, and if it weren't for the emphasis, the tragedy that happened with my husband, I would never consider writing. But I was in these groups, and you had to, they suggest journaling, and I tried to journal, and I joined 2 or 3 groups trying to get my act together, trying to recover from that loss. And then I realized I really need to go ahead and consider writing, you know? And Peggy Powell told me about this writing group. I was able to join in 2019 in January and start the whole year with the opportunity, to learn how to write. And I had the confidence because of, Elise was such a good motivator and encourager. I mean, I remember being at her house, and she told
yeah,
me one, you're not going home until we get this together, the story together. And I'm saying, I don't want to spend the night here. So I
yes, yes,
and she let me go at a certain point when I had reached what she wanted me to accomplish. Whew,
right,
it
yeah,
was just wonderful. That love she showed and commitment to putting the thoughts on paper,
yes,
Mhm.
yeah. What I think is so great about where we are in this time, and the more we're coming aware of who we are as a people, is valuing our culture, our stories. I am an advocate of we need to tell our stories. We need to share our stories. We need to highlight us. And that was one of the main reasons why I started Into the Room podcast, because there are a lot of media outlets. And well, now with internet, some of anybody can get on, they choose to. But in my case, for me, it was important that I highlight us and the best of us. Let me be more specific in that, saying that, and our contributions to society and in America, but the world at large. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're an incredible, dynamic group of people. Do we have our flaws? Of course we do. But at the end of the day, in my mind, we're it. So we're the people. And I always tell people we're the people of the book, the good book. I'm not ashamed to say that.
Promote
And
yourself.
characters, there are other characters. There are. However, creation in terms of life form, in terms of a man, woman, it started with us. And it just did. And I'm a strong believer that it started in the continent of Akubula. At least that's the word. African. That word came later, but and even before Akibulan, there's another word that's I think is a little more ancient than that. But I just believe in highlighting the best of us and our stories and contributions. And as we continue to grow, because I really do believe also um, the narratives are shifting. I do believe we're going to move towards more of a global South. That may not be comforting for some people, but the truth of the matter is, you know, our people are rising. Um, we are. Africa, Akibula is rising. I mean, if you look over at Burkina Faso and what's happening over there and just in general. So I think it's great that we can come together and write our stories from what it's like living in America as a person of the African diaspora, as well as abroad, and taking those homegrown stories that we grew up, and not being ashamed if you grew up in the hood, or if you grew up and worked the cotton field, or whatever it is, not being ashamed, because everybody, it's authentic, it's real, it's who it makes us who we are. So I think that's something to be applauded in itself. Not only I want to talk about that, but I want to get to talk about the scholarship that the Community Writers Group has. It's called We See You. And you guys can elaborate on what that all entails.
Yes, we see you as an opportunity for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders to get an opportunity to put their story down, because we mentor them. They get a whole month of mentoring, and those stories that they create are included in our book that year. So not only do we nurture them, we give them money. We give them a scholarship. And it varies from year to year depending on how much money we've been able to raise. We take donations. We appreciate donations. So it's an opportunity that young people can see their story in print.
And become a published author.
Published author, absolutely.
And they have a different view of the world at that age. And that's really what We See You is trying to capture. Their viewing of the world, and going forward, the different vernacular they use, and it comes through in their stories. So it is a fun and a pleasure to read them. And we do have some of their stories in volume 9 and other volumes of Snapshots books.
It was Elisa's dream to do something for the community. Right. And We See it's her dream, and we want to continue to promote that. Yes.
When we've done fundraisers, we did a popcorn fundraiser to raise money for the We See You program, scholarship program.
Yes.
And other scholarship opportunity fundraisers that are trying to make more money in order to give the students more money and more opportunities.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So does the individual have to live in Los Angeles, or it can be across the United States or anywhere if they want to be a part of the scholarship program?
That's a very good question. We encourage them to live in the state because we would like them to be available to share their stories on stage when we do the book launch, usually in February. Some of these 12th graders, they're going off to college. So, of course, with the technology, we are absolutely able to capture their story and share it. Yes. Right.
And one of the writers, this just came to mind, Nui. You and Nui are members of the Robey Theatre, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Nui writes screenplays. I am a volunteer supporter of Robey. And so they have her join this group because the skills that she has is phenomenal.
Right. And see, and even your writing can take you to playwriting and putting up plays on different stages. And in this case, we're talking of the Robey Theatre, which is awesome. They put on great productions, and I'm so glad that you all are part of that organization as well. What I want to do now is opening up to anyone. If you have a question you would like to ask Akosua or Brenda, you're more than welcome to do so. You can type it in the chat, or I can bring you into the room. We have a few more minutes, maybe about 10 to 15 more minutes. If you have a question, now's your chance. Don't be shy. Do you see yourself, writing your own novel or personal memoir?
I see myself, I'm doing research on my family, and
Okay.
I had no idea until I did the research that my grandfather was a free person. I made the assumption because there's a Hobart plantation in Mobile, Alabama, and my grandfather's last name was Hobart. So I made the assumption he was a slave, and it turns out he was a person. His mother was a free colored woman, which made him free when he was born in 1840. Yes.
Wow. And he spent his whole life as a free man?
Yes, he actually volunteered in the Civil War. Yes, he fought in the Civil War.
Wow.
Wow, of course, that would make a great story. Because
Yeah,
we
I
don't
want to
hear.
write a book around that research. Yes, I got more research to do, and I'm going to make it happen.
Wow, that would be a powerful story. Because we don't, I just recently heard that not everybody, I'm assuming because, they came over and everybody was, slave that looked like us. But I've recently learned, no, that's not the case. Not everybody was a slave, which is amazing. That's a story I would love to hear further. And Brenda, how about you? Do you see yourself writing your own personal memoir, or maybe getting into some play writing?
Concepts that I like to bring forward. I grew up with different stepfathers, and I have a book that I'd like to title Call Him Daddy, because my mom, at the end of the day, would always say, call him Daddy. And, as a child, you realize that it certainly isn't your father. So it would make us feel some kind of way, as they say.
Right.
So I do have something in the works as far as I've written it maybe 20 years ago, and I didn't want to really put it out now because my mom is going through cancer treatments and things like that. But I have that, and I have something else that I wanted to put out, a little thing called Currency, which is following, giving homeless people money and following that homeless person and finding out what they do with that money. And the truth is currency. So what do we do when you see someone on the exit ramp and you give them $1? Well, I want to follow that person and find out what they do with that dollar and where their life is going and things, like that.
Right.
Those things I think about sometimes, because we see that all the time, men with bottles selling water, oranges, and all kinds of things. And I thought it was great to have a story about where do they go? What do they do at night? How do they sleep? And so I titled it Currency.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, no. I said that's really about it.
I have a couple of stories that I've written. I used to write a lot of poetry, and I every now and then I'll do it. But I've performed some poetry, but I've written some stories that I need. I got halfway through and then got distracted and started working on something else because, they're doing a whole lot of different things. But there's a few stories that I would like to tell that I think could be helpful to some, that are entertaining and yet, that are just enlightening. So one is about the Bantu culture, because I've studied and learned more on my journey, embracing my heritage on that level. typically most of us, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, can't trace their lineage back, or don't really know exactly where they come from. And there's a big debate, on what we're mixed with. But during the pandemic, I took the time out to search deeper, and I found out some interesting things. And so I've been writing about it, but I would like to go a little bit deeper into it. Who knows? Maybe make a film about it. But and it's not just about me, because it's unique to most of us. It's just that a few of us were willing to do the work. And so, and I've been, and it's funny because lately I've been learning a little Swahili and trying to glean, understand that, because I want to learn another language. And I know there's other languages that are European, but I want to learn. I want to learn my language that reflects my background, for real. So I've been digging, and so I'm gonna get more into that. But I'm looking forward to. I know the CFO currently of the Teen Graduate Group is Valerie Guilty, and is she the CFO or CEO?
CEO.
She's the CEO. Okay. All right. I'll put that financial title on her. Anyway, so, but I know next year it's going to be a big event because it's the 10th year anniversary, and I know some more surprise guests are coming back on for that book and for the event. And it's going to be really nice because we're going to come together, celebrate the group itself, our founder and what she set up in motion, that we're just carrying it on. And then to think that we have young people that we're bringing in to carry the torch is going to be an awesome thing. But with that being said, I want to thank you, Akosua Hobert and Miss Brenda English, for joining me today, as well as my audience here at Into the Room podcast. I thank you all for tuning in, who took the time out to listen and just hear these beautiful stories and about these wonderful women, about this excellent group of people that come together to share what life is really all about in a creative way. Until then, I thank you. And next time, I hope you guys come back. You're more than welcome to come back when you got a new story.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you.
Awesome. Until then, I thank everyone for tuning in. You have a wonderful, great, blessed weekend. Bye-bye.